In today's episode of P&P Guys, we are going to look at some of the struggles that we are faced with running events here in Canada for SVG and touch on some exciting news with respect to the OHA and its participation in NOVA. But before we jump into all of that fun stuff, we have to get the formalities of P&P out of the way. So today's beverage of choice, folks. It again is a Hockley Valley Brewing Company, and this is a dark traditional English ale. So we're going to give this one a try on P&P. It's somewhat fitting given some of the stuff we're going to talk about, but I'm really enjoying the Hockley Valley stuff, so I'm going to give this one a try, see how it goes. That's good. It's good stuff. Nice dark beer. It's a stronger flavor. Now I had this stored cold, and it says best served cool, 8 to 10 degrees. So again, those funny Brits not drinking cold beer. Anyways, traditional English ale. Check them out. Hockley Valley Brewing Company. Tasty beer. So let's get into the news, events, and happenings and discussion, I guess. Segment's kind of morphing a bit, which is cool. Adding in some of my own thoughts, opinions, observations, things like that. So I'm hoping you guys are enjoying it. But the most exciting thing that we have to talk about today is we were recently contacted, the OHA and OHA brother George was recently contacted by DCHL Devon. For those of you who don't know, he is heading up the team for NOVA as far as running, organizing, setting up, doing all the big stuff for NOVA. He's the guy. So he reached out to OHA George with regards to his Edoras table or board or piece. I'm going to post some pictures up right after this quick little segment here. Basically looking for some terrain contributions for NOVA. Big feather in the cap, can't say enough. Thank you very much for recognizing the OHA and for reaching out. I know George is keen on doing this, so we're absolutely going to contribute something this year in the form of the Edoras board, and I will insert pictures right here. It's a fantastic piece. I can't wait to see it painted. Enough can't be said about the quality of stuff that George is putting out. So let's take a quick look at the photographs of the piece that we're going to be sending down to NOVA, and we'll come back and talk about a few more things with respect to NOVA. Alright guys, so there's a quick look at the piece that is going to be making the trip down to NOVA. Enough can't be said about the quality of the pieces that George has been putting out for the OHA. First the Gondor board, as you all saw at Hot Lead and other various events, the Amon Hen board, and now the Gates of Edoras. I mean, just stunning pieces. I'm excited because I'm going to be attending NOVA and being able to take that piece down and be the one to sort of hand it over to DCHL Devon, which is going to be awesome. Just really excited to have a little piece of the OHA there. It's unfortunate George can't make it for that, but it's going to be a great time, and it's going to be really cool knowing that we've got some OHA terrain at an event like NOVA. So if you want to get a sneak peek of it first, though, before it makes its way to NOVA, you got to come to BHAG. It's going to be here. We're going to be running a scenario on it, so that's going to be loads of fun. So it'll be an OHA first. We'll give NOVA a second kick at the can with it, but pretty pumped to be taking that down. And basically to get together with Devon. I know OHA George is going to be reaching out to Devon, but when I'm down at NOVA, I definitely want to sit down and have a beer or a pint, go over some things with him, and talk about how we can contribute next year and how we can help really make NOVA stand out. Not that it doesn't stand out at all, but wherever we can contribute and help, we definitely want to do that. So Exciting times. Lots happened in the little over a year that the OHA has been going. So, we're making headway and doing things and trying to get out to as much stuff as we can to promote the hobby and the game and just everything SVG. So, excited to see what kind of direction that takes, where we can go, where the DCHL and OHA can find synergies, and really do something to make it pop. Something, a really stunning centerpiece or a couple full tables. Who knows where we're going to go with it, but excited to see where it leads. As far as Nova, it is fast approaching. My participation continues, although I've been very busy doing a lot of work for BHAG, getting units painted up. I've been painting Berserkers like a fiend, as well as some other Urukai. The battle mats, obviously, and working on terrain to make sure that BHAG is going to be great for everybody. I want to make sure we got some really impressive tables for you guys to play on. We're going to get lots of pictures, lots of content posted up on the 22nd. And the best part is all this carries over to our first ever tournament, I guess, the Scouring of the Westfold. Scouring of the West Farthing. How did I get that wrong? I don't know. In September. So there's going to be more information to follow after BHAG. We don't want to overload you guys, but, things like the... things like the player pack and all the information that you're going to need for the tournament, information on taking the train down. That's been something that's been brought to my attention. For those of you coming out of the GTA, the train is a very affordable and economic way to get down to Chatham. Don't need a car. You're literally 3 blocks away from the hotel. So it's a great venue. Come down the day before, spend the day in Chatham. We'll do the evening thing on the Friday, and then play a great tournament Saturday. So look into that for sure, but we're going to have more information to follow, ticket prices, train times, things of that nature, just try to make it easier to get guys down. But all this carries through to that event. So the battle mats, the terrain, the painting, everything is leading up to the event at KegsCon for Scouring the West Farthing. And, excited to be working on that. We're also going to have some prize informations, as I said, the player pack, and all things OHA SVG for what you're going to need to attend. So as for BHAG is pretty well ready to go. Tables, mats, entertainment system, as well as the weather is all looking promising. It's going to be great. Big thank you to all those planning to attend. I know it's a bit of a hike to get down here, but we've had some pretty good reception to the event. Quite happy with it, given its sort of short notice and in between some other events. I realize the next couple months are absolutely crazy with SVG stuff around the world. And I fully appreciate that a lot of people are doing their best to get to multiple things, and I really do appreciate it. So, looking forward to catching up with everybody that does attend, and wishing everybody luck who's headed off to, whether they're headed to the UK, whether they're headed to Nova, Desolation of Ottawa. We've got all these great events coming up all at the same time. So, which kind of gets to the next point that I wanted to cover off in the segment, which is the challenges of running events in Canada / Ontario. I've been tabletop wargaming for 15 plus years, and I've seen this hobby really transform over that period of time. Although we seem to be gaining traction and popularity, we are still a, what I would call a fringe hobby, or rather obscure. With the boom the GW is seeing, the revitalization of GW, I think that's all great things for this hobby. Doesn't matter what you play, where you play it, whatever's good for GW is going to be good for everybody else. It's going to make everybody step their game up, and it's going to give so much more attention and light shone on the hobby, because it's positive stuff. Pardon me. That being said, we're still a very small component of the hobby. We're kind of an obscure part of the obscure hobby, if that makes sense. And SVG players know this well. It's hard to find a game, hard to line people up for events, particularly in Canada. Whereas 40K guys can pretty well walk into any store and get a game, not quite so easy for SVG players. So we need to do a better job of identifying those challenges and working around them to better the hobby. Even just finding models for us is ridiculously difficult in comparison to other hobbies and other games. And these are all challenges that we have to overcome within our hobby to do better it. So that's kind of what I wanted to touch on today. Recruitment becomes absolutely paramount. Now, obviously, if someone's not into something, you can't force it on them. But there seems to be a generic love for Tolkien and the Tolkien world within this community, just based on the the principle of fantasy and sci-fi, and those genres always blend well together, and I think you get a lot of cross-pollination between the two. So whether it's casual invites, full-fledged, organized game days, events at other conventions and gaming conventions to promote and put on SVG, those always have to be front and center, and I know we're trying our best to do it on our side. I've definitely seen some participation on the OSBGL side. That's great. I know they've got an event coming up. If not, actually, I think it's on the 22nd of July during BHAG. They have an event where they're going to be at a convention promoting the game, which is fantastic. Bringing more players into the fold. Absolutely great. Good on you guys for doing that. That is really good to see, and we need to do more of it, quite frankly. So what does it translate to for the competitive landscape in Canada/Ontario? Now, as a caveat, this is just my observations, personal opinions related to the Ontario scene. Things that I'm reading, seeing, things of that nature. In my opinion, we need to change the way we do things. We are geographically huge, so travel becomes a massive issue. Our population density is nothing compared to the States or the UK, and of course, the player base is not nearly as developed as it is in those two areas. So, in order to combat these two factors, we need to merge with and take part in larger events. So, piggybacking off of established events like Nova, Hot Lead, Kegs Con, major conventions, major wargaming, venues where we can come in, have an established player base in other games, and draw on that base. I think that's going to become paramount in growing our community. The days of dedicated tournaments for strictly SBG, although I'm sure there's a time and a place for them. I think recruitment is huge. Getting more and more players are going to allow you to have more and more days like that. So I know the OSBGL, again, has done a great job in saying that they want to focus more on stuff like that and focus on recruitment. I know Don Barnett, I think I'm saying that right, is organizing a non-competitive, strictly, basic recruitment game, as well as Taylor's going to be doing that other event on the 22nd. So all good things to see. The guys going that way. I 100% agree with it. We are not the U.S. and we are not the U.K. And we got to stop thinking of ourselves that way, just because we don't have the ability to produce the numbers like they do. When you look at an event like Articon, even Nova for that fact, I think it's 60 players this year, which is, for SBG in North America, that's huge. Articon, I think, is going to be under the 150 mark this year. I think they're saying 125, 130, a little lower than last year. And again, it has to do with timing. The summer vacation period, you would think it would be easier to get guys out, but with families and commitments for travel and stuff like that, it's tough. It's a tough time of year. Same thing with like Desolation of Ottawa. I would absolutely love to be up there to support you guys and to take part. The timing of it couldn't be worse. I've already committed to Nova. You've got Nova, Articon, and the Desolation of Ottawa all in the same month. So you've got, let's say 3 fairly large SBG communities. I mean, 2 of the largest without a doubt. Canada being, somewhere in there. I'm sure we're not the largest by any means, but to have 3 events in that short a time period all together, I think it's just poor draw for you guys. Excellent execution on trying to piggyback off another event. Really wish I could be there. But again, it comes down to sort of determining where you're going to get your best bang for your buck and where commitments have already been made, right? So unfortunately for me, it's going to take almost as long for me to get to Ottawa from where I live as it's going to take for me to get to Washington, D.C. So a lot of those factors, or a lot of the factors that I took into consideration when making my decision was, what is going to be available. Cost relative to attending Articon was clearly a big factor. I would have loved to go to Articon, but the price of a ticket to fly over, hotel accommodations, food, the event itself, they're expensive events. There's no doubt about it. I'm not exactly sure what the Desolation of Ottawa is running at. I read a post, I think it was Taylor, that was saying it's similar in cost to Articon. And again, this is all my personal opinion, but I think that's far too expensive for a Canadian event. I know I've seen some of the stuff you guys are talking about with what you're doing for swag and what's going to be available, but I'm not going to pretend to know anything about the event you guys are running. That's strictly your baby. All I know is, for me as a player, I looked at what was going to be available to me at the events. Nova, for me personally, was best bang for my buck. I can drive there, hotel, relatively cheap, clearly cheaper than flying up to Articon, and even Ottawa. To go up to Ottawa, this is also a vacation for me, so I spend a lot of time in the north, up in the Ottawa Valley area, Barry's Bay, Whitney, up in that neck of the woods. So Nova was a nice change of pace for me to break away from the sort of northern thing and go experience something else. So, there was a multitude of facets that drew me to Nova, no doubt. Cost was huge. I mean, the event for Nova, I forget what my grand total was, but it was a $40 convention. I think it was $120 or something like that. The prizing is incredible, and it's numbers. Like, they're gonna have 60 guys. I hope that Desolation of Ottawa does well. I think 60 is ambitious for Canadian, for the Canadian market, especially given you've got two main events going on pretty well at the same time. Because you're going to lose players to Articon, you're going to lose players to Nova, and you're going to lose players to both, which is a shame. I really like to be up there to support it, just can't do it. Wherever we can, or wherever the OHA can help out, maybe going forward. Hopefully the timing for that event gets a little better for you guys, but I really hope that it goes well. Just because I want to see the Canadian side of things grow. Just the timing, I think, is poor. So, good luck. I just don't think that it's wise for us to be competing with, UK and US-based events. It's a tough sell to pull somebody from that to come up to Ottawa. And please remember, this is just my opinion. Hopefully it's being viewed as constructive in nature and not negative or hurtful in any way. That's definitely not my intent. So that's sort of my thoughts on the Nova Articon Desolation of Ottawa, perfect storm that's sort of arising for the Canadian scene, and why I wanted to touch on it today. Just because it's things like that make it hard for Canadians, to have major events. There's always something pulling us somewhere, whether it's family obligations, work, life balance, hobbying, other games, or in this case, other big SVG events that, are a little more established and have a little more renown. So, as I said, hope it goes well, guys. Hope it's going to be around and something that I can get to next year to support. I'd love to come up, talk to OHA George, maybe do some terrain and see where we can help out going forward. But that's all. That's all I got for that. So I personally want to see the Canadian SVG grow 100%. I want it to be successful. I think between the OHA, the OSBGL, at least in the Ontario scene, there's absolutely no reason that we cannot grow this game. Whether that involves heading to local GWs again and putting on demo games. I know I've seen, it looks like the West Coast guys are doing that to some success, which I think is brilliant. Again, you're utilizing an existing base of wargamers to grow the community, which I think is going to be key. So the long and the short of it, guys, we just got to get better at doing what we do. That's it. Promote the game, especially with the revitalization that's occurring. It's nowhere near as difficult as it would have been, 2, 3, 4 years ago. So let's get out there and promote SVG and do everything you can. Even in an event like Nova, because Nova is so many different game systems, you've got a real opportunity to make something pop there, attract people with the game, and maybe get them interested. So I know that's why OHA George is a big fan of getting this terrain piece down to them for Nova, because it's going to be something that when people see that level of commitment, whether it's something as simple as making sure all your miniatures are painted when you're tabling an event, particularly when you're trying to hook new players. I think that's huge, paramount. Terrain is going to be massive, and then style of play. Keeping it light, keeping it quick, going over the basics. All these things really come together to get players in, and then obviously you sink the hook with all the terrific game mechanics and customization available to your armies, the different factions, magic, hero models. All that is great stuff. So let's get out there and promote it, boys. That's it. That's it for that segment. I'm done. I don't want to talk about it anymore. So to recap, Desolation Ottawa, good luck, boys. I wish you all the best, and I look forward to hopefully being able to take part and help out next year. Trying to see what else I've got. Yes. Terrific news from the team at the SVG Magazine. For those of you who are attending Articon, you will be able to pick up your copies of, it is issue 5, and it looks like it's based on Dale. As usual, it looks amazing. You guys do a terrific job. If any of you are unaware or not familiar with SVG Magazine, it's a fan-based magazine produced by a couple of the GBHL boys over in the UK, Damien and Tom, with contributors from all across the GBHL. They do a terrific job, terrific quality magazine, second to none in our hobby, clearly. Better, in fact, in my opinion, than White Dwarf ever did. So they're doing it great justice. They're continuing on with it, which is fantastic. I would love to see GW maybe throw some support their way, because these guys should be the guys running that for Games Workshop, without a doubt. The quality and the standard that they produce that magazine to is absolutely fantastic. I've got a collection of them upstairs, hoping to get Evan to bring me one back from Articon this year, and just add it to the pile, because it's full of terrific information, tidbits, how-tos, tactica, amazing battle reports. I mean, the stuff that they're doing, the terrain that they're building for these battle reports is second to none. Arguably comparable to OHA George, but it's all good stuff, and the scale that they do it on is incredible. We're not just talking a few scatter pieces. These are full-blown, almost scenes out of the movie that they're creating, which is stunning and amazing. So hats off to you guys. Keep it up. Really looking forward to issue number 6. Hope you're working on it, and can't wait to get a hold of mine. So as far as upcoming events, we're wrapping up. We're almost done. Again, Ring Goes South is tomorrow, July 15th, Hamilton. Check it out on the OSBGL Facebook group. They're going to be able to fill you in on all the information. 400 points double event. July 22nd is, of course, BHAG. We've sort of capped off the attendance. If you are able to make it, send me a message. We'll do what we can to get you in. I don't see why we can't accommodate you. We've obviously got a solid number right now that we're planning on. It's looking like we're going to have 12 attendees, which for us is fantastic. We are 2 hours west of Toronto. So for those people that are coming out of the GTA, it's a big commitment, big drive, and I certainly appreciate that, and I appreciate you guys coming. So if you are able to attend, send a message over. We'll do what we can to get you in. August 30th to September 3rd, of course, is Nova. Really looking forward to that. So check out novaopen.com for more information. If you have time or want to attend, you can still sign up, I believe. I don't think it's sold out just yet. But as Devin said, I think it's capped at 60 players this year. So take a look. See if you can make it down. From what I hear, it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be my first year. I can't wait. So, and then, of course, we have September 29th and the 30th at KegsCon, which is the OHA's first tournament, Scouring the West Farthing. That'll be held on September 30th with a free game night the 29th for those of you coming down to stay early. We're going to have information, players pack, all the like coming out after BHAG, so stay tuned for that, guys. Other than that, you know, I got to keep slaving away here in the forge. Got lots to do, lots of paint to get on miniatures, and can't wait to catch up with you guys next week. And hopefully have a couple videos in between to show you the preparation for BHAG and sort of the layout, setup, all that fun stuff. So once again, guys, have a great day. Thanks for stopping by at PNP, and we'll chat soon. Cheers.